let's get into the news.
Really good. You know, it's not every day you can say you made the world truly a better place. America sends a message to the entire world. We will not turn our back on you. To our friends in Ukraine, America will soon deliver more ammunition and air defenses and basic supplies you need to resist Putin on the battlefield. To our friends in Israel, America will soon deliver aid to help you fight the scourge of Hamas and stand up to Iran. To innocent civilians in Gaza in the midst of a war, and to those around the world who face hunger, America will deliver food and medicine and clothing. And to our friends in the Indo-Pacific, we will stand with you to resist the Chinese Communist Party. And to the whole world, rest assured, America will never shrink from its responsibilities as a leader on the world stage.
Well, I mean, listen to Chuck Schumer there. You listen to Chuck Schumer there, and you would think that, he was giving such a rousing speech in favor of freedom and justice. This man just basically signed up America for a three-pronged war that is going to go on indefinitely. He's basically said that we are going to be at war for the perpetually for the near future. That's pretty much it. We are going to be consistently at war for years because of this bill. What am I talking about? House lawmakers in both parties joined Saturday to send a massive package of foreign aid to the Senate. Yes, ending a long and bitter stalemate over the fate of the legislation, and all but ensuring the delivery of billions of dollars in new help to embattled allies across the globe. The rare weekend votes were in culmination of months of fierce debate within the House GOP conference over how, or even if, Congress should step in with another round of military help for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan, while providing humanitarian aid for civilians in Gaza and other war-torn regions around the globe. Now, you see how this is written. This is from the Associated Press. The reason I like the Associated Press because they're not really billionaire owned, and they're generally the closest thing to a centrist media outlet that we have here in this country. But the way that even a centrist paper in America looks at it is as if sending billions of dollars to Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan is somehow some honorable or noble goal. As I've talked about for 2 years here on this show, Ukraine is the most corrupt country in Europe. That's what it is. It's the most corrupt country in Europe. Look it up. Anything before 2022, it was constantly written as the most corrupt country in Europe. And it was also written as being flooded, especially in their military, with Nazis. Literal Nazis. The mass shooter in New Zealand who killed 50 people in a mosque, he was inspired by the Azov Battalion and had, I believe, their black sun insignia tattooed on him. The Buffalo supermarket shooter who killed all those black people in Buffalo a few years ago, he was inspired by Ukraine's Azov Battalion. That's who we're sending billions of dollars to currently. An army that is a country that is overwhelmingly corrupt, that has huge swaths of their population being at least tolerant of Nazis and Nazi ideology, and also a country where the army is so diminished and so depleted that they are literally grabbing 65-year-olds off the street and making them fight. The average age of the person fighting on the front lines in Ukraine now is 43 years old. They have killed an entire generation of Ukrainian men. And they are going to, I guess, kill some more with this. Israel, obviously, the entire world is condemning Israel for the genocide that is perpetuating across the world. You are starting to see countries now divest from Israel in terms of business-wise because of the genocide they are committing, trying to wipe an entire ethnic group off the planet. You even have so many Jews, like I played Naomi Klein at the start of the show, and people like Jewish Voice for Peace, who are leading a lot of these anti-Israel marches because of the way they are conducting themselves, and we're sending them even more money for that. That's great. And Taiwan. This is us picking a fight with China. We are picking a fight with the second richest country in the world, and a country that is, I guess, now the second most populous country in the world, because India recently overtook China as the most populous country in the world. But essentially, we are throwing down the gauntlet and welcoming World War III. That's what we're doing. We are welcoming World War III. Now, this debate had split House Republicans into warring factions, pitting Reagan-minded traditionalists who support strong interventions overseas to counter the imperial designs of Russia and China against a newer brand of America First conservatives who fought to limit the foreign spending and focus instead on domestic problems, particularly the migrant crisis at the border. Now, historically, the Republicans that I grew up watching in the 80s and 90s, these people were intent on world domination. They are called neocons, neoconservative. They believe in a strong, muscular foreign policy that includes us overthrowing governments and invading countries that don't toe the line that we want them to toe. The newer America First conservatives are saying, we got problems here, and we should focus on domestic problems. When I was a kid, those people were called Democrats. People who didn't want to go to war constantly and wanted to focus on the things going on in our backyard were called Democrats. We used to have a left-wing party in this country. They used to be called the Democrats, that used to argue that endless wars were theft against the starving children. That's what LBJ said. Every bomb that's built is food taken out of the mouth of a baby. That was LBJ. And he did Vietnam. So now what we've seen is the sort of mainstream of the old school Republicans who come from the Reagan-Bush era, who joined together with the modern Democratic Party, who is just fully a war party now. The Democratic Party is now the war party. And they've used the idea of Russia being, Russia hacked our leg or something, to justify expanding the military industrial complex, to the point where now the people who call for responsible foreign policy are considered wackos. Oh, look at those wacky America First. Well, what are you supposed to be first? You guys aren't representatives of America? Why would any politician brag about not being America first? But this is what I'm saying. You have to look at how things are written here in the press. Hold on, Carl. I will get to you. In the end, Speaker Mike Johnson defied his conservative critics, pushing to floor a series of 4 bills providing the overseas assistance, but detaching those funds from a separate border security bill which failed on the floor during Sunday's vote. He framed the aid as simple but crucial continuation of America's responsibility to democratic allies under siege from despots. Passage of the foreign aid bill marked a moral victory for the inexperienced speaker who took the gavel less than 6 months ago. The package passed with 4 separate votes, which includes roughly $61 billion for Ukraine, $26 billion for Israel, $8 billion for Taiwan, basically, and a package of additional national security measures that features a potential ban on the uber popular TikTok app. Now, as we talked about before, it would take about $20 billion to end homelessness in the United States of America. $20 billion to permanently end homeless, to make sure every American who is homeless has a home. It would take about $20 billion. We just sent another $61 billion to Ukraine. So we essentially sent them about 3 times what it would take for us to have any homeless people in the United States of America. And then they say, well, this is a loan. This is a foreign loan. This is a loan. We're loaning this to the Ukrainian people. Ukraine is the most corrupt country in Europe, and the people have nothing now. Russia destroyed the entire country. So we are never getting that money back, ever. The American people will never see it. Maybe Hunter Biden will. Hunter Biden might see some of it. You know, some of these politicians might see some of it make its way back into their pockets through donations from the military-industrial complex. But you and me, the people who pay taxes, and I just paid my taxes a few weeks ago. Like a big boy. I didn't even cry this time. This time, I didn't cry. Wanted to, but I didn't. So I am getting better. Okay? We're never seeing this money again. The $26 billion for Israel. We are simultaneously wagging our finger at Israel and saying, no, 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 you guys are committing a genocide, and then sending them billions of dollars to continue the genocide. And then they are wondering why young people don't want to vote for Joe Biden. $8 billion for Taiwan. Did you guys know that America's official stance is that Taiwan is China? You know, that's our official policy, is that Taiwan is indeed China. So exactly why are we interfering in China's business? Why are billions of dollars of American taxpayers' dollars going to Taiwan when our official stance is that Taiwan is China? That's our stance, is that it's China. But all this has come with political risks, provoking conservatives who are already furious with his penchant for reaching across the aisle to seal deals with President Biden on major legislation opposed by the speaker's right flank, including bills to fund the federal government and extend the spying powers of Washington's intelligence agencies. That's another story we're going to cover. Yeah, the government just basically said it's okay for them to spy on all of us. They just passed a bill. We're probably going to cover that next week. These mounting frustrations have spurred a pale but not powerless effort to remove Johnson from the top job, which has gained steam in recent days as the speaker made steps towards sending aid overseas. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene filed a motion to vacate late last month, which Representatives Thomas Massie and Paul Gosar endorsed this week. Now again, the way it is being presented by the corporate media is that Marjorie Taylor Greene and all these people are insane for not wanting to send billions of dollars of taxpayers' dollars to, one, a country that is run by corrupt Nazis, two, another country that is literally committing the world's worst genocide as we speak, and three, a country that by our own policy is China. Our own policy says that Taiwan is China. That is our own stance. But yet again, the way the media makes it seem as if well, Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's a complete loon. She's a complete nut, and I can't believe that she doesn't want Mike Johnson to help the Democrats send more dollars overseas to countries that are either corrupt or committing genocides or have nothing to do with us. Greene has not yet said when she plans to force a vote on her ouster resolution, and her path forward was muddled last week after President Trump endorsed Johnson's leadership, dealing a blow to the Georgia Republican who considers Trump a close ally. And this right here, this is why a lot of the MAGA people get on my doggone nerves, right? Because so many MAGA people say Trump is anti-war. Oh, man, Trump is really anti-war, man. Trump is anti-war. No, he's not. No, he's not. And this proves it. Trump could have opposed this, and it would have completely left Mike Johnson up the creek without a paddle. And instead, he endorsed it. He endorsed all this money going out, and he said he's an America First politician. Still, even some of Johnson's allies are bracing for the possibility that Greene might pull the trigger. I hope she does. Johnson, for his part, has brushed off the threat, especially in the face of moving aid for Ukraine, underscoring the important role that the U.S. has in supporting Kiev's leaders at critical moment in their battle against Russia. In an effort to appease his right flank, Johnson also proposed a series of changes to the Senate-passed bill. He called them innovations that feature a number of Republican national security and foreign policy priorities. The GOP wish list includes new sanctions on Iran, a potential ban on TikTok, and several proposals to ease the financial burden on U.S. taxpayers by providing part of the Ukraine aid in form of a loan, while empowering the president to seize Russian assets and use them to help pay the enormous cost of Ukrainian reconstruction. As I said, we are never getting that money back. Ukraine is too broke and too corrupt for us to ever get that back. The only people who may see it are the military industrial complex and crooked, corrupt politicians. And so this is where we are currently. We are in a situation where the American public has overwhelmingly said that they don't want this, but the elites, who you people continue to vote for, do want it. And so this is what we got. Let me get this caller. Hello, caller.
Hi, Scott.
What's up?
I want to ask you this question. Now, my feeling is this. I think that we have enough problems that are going on in this country, and we need to take that money and work with us, because we're the ones that need it. We're the ones, and as you was talking about the homeless, and then there's other issues that's taking place in our country, and we're sending all that money. And that's the one thing that kind of frustrates me with politicians, though, Mr. Biden, President Biden. Why are we doing this? What are we trying to do? We're trying to prove that we just got some money.
Well, it's about giving more money to the military industrial complex.
But see, but what about we in this country, the people here?
Well, see, here's the thing. They don't care about us. They care about putting money in the pockets of their donors. The people who own them are the defense contractors, the Boeings, the Raytheons, the Lockheed Martins. They are the ones who donate millions of dollars so that they will, work for them. Essentially, that's who our politicians work for.
Now, I was thinking about that. You was talking about Taiwan. Now, I was thinking, I know that, they said Taiwan is a part of. Okay, let me just say, I'm getting my mouth getting twisted here.
It's all good.
They're saying that now Taiwan is not under communist, but I think that they're saying that China wanted to make Taiwan communist.
Taiwan. See, here's the thing. Like when they had that.
I'm gonna hang up so that my husband can hear too.
It's all good.
I want you to finish explaining that about that.
Yeah.
Okay. Take care. Thanks, Scott.
It's all good. Well, as I was saying, when China had their revolution in the 1940s, right, they had a government, and their government left the country and moved over to their island, Taiwan. And so that's Taiwan basically is basically their form of China. It's the old Chinese government, the old corrupt Chinese government. The new Chinese government that came to power, the communists under Mao, Chairman Mao, they run the big country, China. Now, the U.S.'s stance, our stance in America, is that they are one and the same, that they are the same country, that Taiwan is a part of China. That is how China sees it. That's how the United States technically sees it. That we are China. I mean, that they are China, I'm sorry. That Taiwan is China. Now, at the same time they are doing that, they are also undermining, they are, because they are afraid of competition. Really, they're trying to weaken China and Russia. That's what all these conflicts are about. They're afraid of China. They're afraid of Russia. They don't want to compete. And so, again, the sort of neocon hawks who think it's America's job to be the policeman of the world and to run the world want to make sure that China is weak as possible. So they're essentially using Taiwan as a proxy to try to weaken China. They don't want China to have access to all the semiconductors. I actually did a segment on that like last year. Maybe it was 2 years ago now. Oh my God. I think it might have been 2 years ago at this point, where Taiwan makes 90% of the world's semiconductors. What are semiconductors? Semiconductors are in everything we use, all the electronics we use, from our laptops to our phones, all of our computers, all of our cars, TVs, DVDs. Our world basically runs on semiconductors. Somehow the United States, when it was sending all of our jobs overseas, allowed Taiwan, which is China, officially, by our own standards, to control the semiconductor market. They do not want China to control the semiconductor market for obvious reason. Now, Joe Biden did pass the CHIPS Act, signed the CHIPS Act earlier this year. Or was it last year? I think it might have been last year. That is designed to bring the manufacturing of semiconductors back to the United States. Back to the United States, but that will take about 10 years. That's not going to happen overnight. And so until then, you have all these semiconductors in what is officially, but unofficially, China. And so they are afraid that China will just come in, the mainland China will come in and take over the little island Taiwan, China, and they will have access and cut us off from all the semiconductors that make our modern life possible. Again, this is the fault of our leaders who sent all the technology and sent all of our jobs overseas and sent all of our manufacturing capacity overseas. This is how we got caught during the pandemic. We didn't have enough masks. We didn't have enough ventilators and beds. All that stuff is made in China. And so that's how we ended up. That's how we ended up behind the game, because once again, our greedy politicians with things like NAFTA, permanent trade relations with China, because these corporations make more money by using foreign slave wage labor, they sent all of our manufacturing overseas. And so because of that, we don't make anything in America. At least we haven't been making much in America. Like I said, in a few weeks, maybe next week, I will do a things I like about the Biden administration segment. And one of them is that I do like that at least Biden has brought some manufacturing back to America of things like chips. In that way, he has been a little bit better than I thought. I still have great issues with him starting World War III and possibly getting us all killed and lots of other things. But we are just now starting to realize just how much of the deficit we are when it comes to manufacturing. We don't make nothing here no more. And so China does. And right across the strait from the mainland of China is where 90% of the semiconductors we need for our modern lives are being made. And they don't want China to clamp down on that. All right, folks, when we come back, we're going to talk about what this money probably should have been spent on instead of sending it to Nazis, war criminals, and people whose lives really aren't any of our business. We'll be right back after these.